Hey everybody, welcome to the Raw Online Report. Today's guest, you know this guy. He's been around a long time. He's been on top of his game for a long time. He is the King Snake, Steve Cuclow. What's up, Steve?
Ryan, always representing. I see it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, man. You give me that extra, boost going in this last
Can I show the
week.
back? Yeah.
See, that shirt adds like 10 pounds of muscle.
Dude, how old is this shirt?
Circa 2011. So
Wow.
you're about 11 years old.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still keeping it. I'm not getting rid of it.
Heck yeah.
Man, so we have the Texas Pro coming right up in your backyard. Irving, Texas is outside of Dallas, I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's near the airport where DFW
good.
Airport is. So
good.
From where I'm living now, it's about 40 minutes. So I kind of moved out to the country, Michelle and I did, and it's nice, a lot more quiet, but we'll be representing Dallas in the house.
Okay. So this was the scene last year. You waited, you let a lot of the other shows go by, and there was only a couple chances left to qualify for the Olympia. You were a shoe-in for this, so we thought. I mean, who's going to beat Steve Cuclow in Texas? I mean, but it came down to like, I don't know how many points, like a tenth of a point or something.
Yeah, it was close, man. It was splitting hairs. It was kind of like, do you like brunettes or blondes?
I distinctly remember watching the live stream, which I know is very different from being there. I know from being at shows and watching stream the difference, but I had you winning the judging, and then people started talking about Ian. I'm like, oh, maybe. And at the end he squeaked it through and he got the win. But man, it was so close. It was so you could have flipped a coin. I mean,
it was.
And I know both of you guys, but I've known you much longer, and I know you a lot better. So I was,
there you go, Ryan.
Really hoping it was going to be you, but and the Arnold happened. What was it? Oh, geez, was that like a couple months later, right?
Yeah, it was about 6 weeks later.
6 weeks later, that was your last chance. You had to win that.
Yep.
And again, Nick Walker blew that out of the water. Ian was second, you were third, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, this time I want to see you win. So promise me you're going to win the Texas Pro, Steve.
Man, I'm gonna do everything I can to win that show. I'm gonna say, that there's a lot that goes into this show particularly. Like last year, like you said, I let some shows pass, and I kind of put all my eggs in the Texas Pro basket and I treated it like it was an Arnold or an Olympia. I thought that to me, it's in my backyard. It's like nobody comes to my backyard and wins or takes my trophy. So I wanted to really focus on bringing a great package. It was my first time competing really since COVID. So it was about a little over a year since I was on stage. So I was obviously there's a disappointment with not winning. It was great to get back on stage, battle it out. It was a great lineup. It was like Phil, Ian, and I. And it was one hell of a prejudging, one hell of a final. But to me, this year it's about redemption and coming back and winning that title. And some people are like, oh, he's not going against Ian, so it's not. I mean, it's not necessarily about that. I think you look at any lineup of any show, the athletes are phenomenal, and the talent just keeps getting better and better as the sport grows. So
yeah, and I mean, Ian's a great competitor, but you know what? Come on, Kamal El-Gardni. I just saw his open debut. He's an incredible open competitor.
Yeah.
What would you think of that? Did you watch that show?
I saw photos. I sometimes watching a live stream, it's really not, you're not getting the detail that, some like good high quality photos show.
Right.
So I wasn't impressed by what I saw on the live stream. So I'm like, I'm not even going to judge that, obviously, but I saw some photos and yeah, I mean, Akam to me was the winner of that show. Okay. I thought he's a monster, and he was hard. He brought a great package, and Akam on is hard to beat to me. And I mean, you got the 212 guys that are coming in the open. They're giving up 50, 60 pounds to guys like myself and Akam, and that's a lot of weight and a lot of size on stage. And it's about bodybuilding at this point. Like, obviously men's open is a size game, majority of it. You look at Big Ramy and Nick and all the guys are pushing 300 plus in the off season, and we're all competing 260, 270, 280 on stage. I mean, it's a big boy division. So This show is going to be a big boy show too.
Yeah, I mean, you got some big dudes up there. I mean, Andrew Jack, I don't know. He claimed, I just interviewed him. He doesn't even know what he weighs, but he's probably, you're going to be about 280, I'm guessing.
Somewhere around there, 275, 280.
Yeah. So he's probably not that much lighter. He's a tall guy. Quentin's another tall guy. And you're like 6 foot, 6'1".
I'm about 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So right there, we have like 3 big dudes, 6 foot or taller. Fitzwater's a little shorter, but he's stacked. Joe Mackey, Phil Clayhar's coming back. It's going to be a really good show. But I'm curious, after the show last year, did you immediately say to yourself, no matter what happens, I'm coming back to this show next year?
No, not necessarily. I like to digest a little bit, not kind of make decisions on emotion. And I think after the show, it was a little kick to the ego a little bit, and obviously the sport's full of ups and downs. I think
Sure.
You don't win every show, and there's some you win, some you lose, and you just got to take what you learn from those losses and move on. And for me, going into this year, the Arnold is something that I just, one of those coveted shows I love. Love competing at the Arnold. So that's in March. Did the Boston. Yeah. And, finding out Olympia is all the way in December makes for a long year. So yes. You kind of have to pick your battles on this and what shows you want to do. And you can't compete all year long. I mean, Justin Rodriguez, God bless the guy. I mean, he's an animal, but he's done so many shows. And I think he's like, I need the break. And your body can only handle so much at this level. And I had enough gas in the tank to push through this show. My team was like, they encouraged it. Michelle was like, I'm 100% behind you. And she gave me the green light. So I said, let's go.
I know. Yeah. I mean, you're at a point where you've competed for so long. You must know that I can do this amount of shows this far apart and still be at my best. Whereas other guys, Justin was great, but as the shows went on, I could see his body was just, things weren't popping anymore. He wasn't as lean anymore. The body, you guys are human beings. I don't think people realize it. You're genetically blessed, but you're still human beings, and you can only hold 3% body fat for so long before your body says, screw you, I'm going home.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
We're done here. So, I'm glad you have that wisdom, because, you've been a pro since 2011 now, right?
Yeah. That's like we talked about. That's a shirt, but
yeah, that's right.
It's the amount of time it takes for me to prep for shows. I mean, obviously if I competed back in February and turned into a fat slob and eat like shit for months, like some of these guys I see, I'm like, you just competed 2 weeks later. You look like you haven't competed in 4 years. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Right. So to me, I stay pretty close, so I don't have to diet for 12 weeks back to back to back. It's like, hey, if I could, 6 to 8 weeks push hard, that's to me a whole lot better than trying to double that and diet for 16 or 12 weeks.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, but because it's such an important point, I always repeat it. You're one of the few guys who doesn't blow up in the off season. You basically recomposition where your body weight you don't go up to, you've been over 300 pounds years and years past, but now you stay right around 280 or so in the off season.
Yeah. I float in that high 270, 280. I hold it, really pretty easy. It's not like I'm eating a ton of food, or I still train hard. I still eat relatively good. Yeah. But I think it's just years of training, the muscle maturity that allows it to stay. And I do recomp as I go into the shows. Like, I'll start my prep at 275. I'll go up to maybe 285 and compete in the 275, 280 mark. So it's not like I'm, dropping 50 pounds or doing anything super crazy.
Yeah, because I stress that because I do believe it's, health is something I think we're all a little more cognizant of in the past couple of years. And I don't think it's healthy for people to have their body weight going way up, way down, yo-yoing over and over. I think that's another added stress to the body that, like, people aren't talking about that. They're talking about gear and being fat and this and that, but no one's saying your body doesn't like change. It doesn't like being
not that extreme, it doesn't like extreme.
310, 250, 310, 250, it's
too much, man. Too much.
Yeah. And I know I'm jumping way ahead talking about the Olympia, but people talk about the Olympia from like the day after last Olympia.
Right.
Your last Olympia was 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was I don't know if you saw any of the preview I did with Giles, but we need you on that Olympia stage, man. 3
No,
years.
I know. We definitely, that's the goal. Obviously, it in this sport, it's their Super Bowl. So it's
Yeah.
that and the Arnold are the two pinnacles. So to me, I've loved competing at the Arnold. I've been doing it, and I've got about the same amount of Arnolds as I do Olympia shows under my belt. So
Yeah.
um, I wish the show was in its original date, September. It'd be great because I'd go right into this, go into the Olympia from there.
Yeah.
But it gives me a little bit of downtime after the show, reset a little bit, rest up, and then I'll start cranking again as we get closer.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to Dan Solomon. We got to get the show back in September. This December Olympias.
Yeah, I mean, I might just come out in a Santa Claus outfit on stage and pose.
It's just, I mean, after 50 years of Olympias being in September,
Yeah,
to suddenly now where they're in December, I'm sure it's a logistical thing. I think it was because that COVID year was so messed up, but
yeah, and that was kind of my hesitation on competing that year, was just because I know what goes into preps, and I know how much effort and sacrifice and time, and to me it was to do that and a show to be canceled because of COVID, or everybody was like, it's green light, and then last minute, like, oh, the venue shut down again or something happened. Like that would have been a worst nightmare kind of thing. So I was like, yeah, I'm not even going to try to stress about it. I'm just going to just focus on just kind of living life, getting things, focus on some business, focus on training, getting my body healthy.
Oh, man. Yeah. But I'm just saying, when I say we need you in the Olympia is supposed to be all the top guys in the world, all the A-list guys.
Yeah.
And you're a top 6 Olympian. You've won an Arnold Classic, Brazil, I think it was, South America, whatever they call it. You're somebody who needs to be in the Olympia if it's going to be all the best guys. Without you there, we're like, well, Steve's not here. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that, Ron. Thank you.
So let's go for this. When Ian won that show last year to Texas, it sparked a little debate about people doing shows after they were already qualified. A lot of people came down hard on him, saying, you took away Steve Cuclow's Olympia qualification. And I don't know if I ever asked you, did you feel that way, or did you feel like, well, he's a pro, you should just keep going, and if you can't beat him, oh well, then you can't beat him?
Absolutely. Hey, this sport is. I wish the sport was huge contracts like NFL, where we made millions of dollars, and it'd be great. And you could, if you lost one or whatever, or got second and still made 400,000, it's like, oh, big deal.
Yeah.
But I understand from the aspect of being, putting food on the table and living. I mean, that's part of our living is winnings from these shows. On a aspect of taking a spot from somebody else, sure, that sucks, but I don't blame him at all. I thought if I was in his position, I was like, man, I'm on. I feel good. I'm gonna go to the next show, and I'm gonna, if we can make another 10 grand, let's go.
Yeah. Have you ever done that? Have you ever qualified for the Olympia and kept doing shows?
No. Usually, if I win one, I'll shut it down.
Okay.
Because usually, like the last few Olympia qualifications were winning the Indy Pro.
Okay.
So I did the Arnold and Indy Pro, won that. The Arnold Indy Pro won that, and then just shut it down. But
yeah. I mean, because there's a big gap in between. Like you said, I don't think a lot of fans, they don't realize how much goes into prep and how brutal it is on the body, the mind, everything. It's a lot. And to do that in March, and then in April, and then in July, it's too much, guys. So
it is. And like you said, it's probably a good amount of the same percentage of mental as it is physical, like the mental aspect of things. Yeah. I've had a few moments this prep where I'm just like, it's not even about like eating. I mean, I think we've done this so long, Ron, you eat what you eat, and it's not you don't treat food like it's a drug, or like, oh man, I need to feel good, eat something. Like, you're like, just give me this food, I'm going to eat it, whatever.
Yeah.
But I just was like, I remember I looked at Michelle, I'm like, I don't care if I had a cheeseburger or something, it's not going to help me at this point. I said, I just want to have a little body fat, so I feel like my brain will function.
Yeah. I mean, people think, prep doesn't really get any easier, does it, over the years? It's still always the same grind.
Yeah. And my physique is like the only way I could say it is like a freaking race car or big truck. It takes a lot of fuel. It just takes way more to me. Like, I have to feed myself way more than, say, probably a 212 guy does. I have a good metabolism as it is, but it also, the amount of muscle is just to maintain that alone in a prep. I mean, there's times where Gina sends me my diet at the beginning of the prep, and it's so much food. And I remember telling her, like, Gina, could you pull back a meal? Because I just can't eat all this food. I don't have quite the appetite as I had when I was 25. But at the same time, I mean, you eventually get hungry where your body's cranking and you can just eat. Because I mean, I'm at that point now where I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. Whatever I have to eat, I'm going to eat.
Yeah. Now I can imagine 280, 75, 80-pound guy. I can only imagine the amount of carbs it would take to fill you out. So we're actually speaking, this is a Tuesday, full disclosure. No, what's today? Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. So I don't know if you're following a carb up program now. Are you carbing up today?
Yeah.
Loading?
One of the things that we've learned, because, Gina and I have been working together for many years. And to me, I think what it makes a coach and an athlete work well together is that, they could bounce feedback off each other, and she could listen and I'll listen to what she has to say. And we kind of meet in the middle a lot on ideas. And one of the things was kind of what we talked about earlier about extremes, like not trying to over deplete my body and then try to overcompensate and refill it, but more kind of a steady go into the week, not making a lot of big changes and adding a little food and just seeing how my body reacts and not making these huge changes. And it's worked really well. It's kept my stomach really tight as I go into the last week. It's not like, you're used to eating 200 grams of carbs and all of a sudden you're hammering 1,000 grams of carbs, you're bloated and you're like, man, I feel like I can't, there's so much food in me. So if I'd rather go 500 grams of carbs for a week versus 1,000 carbs for 2 days kind of thing. So
yeah, because I remember Cutler used to load up on 1,000 grams of carbs.
Yeah,
it took that much for him. So I didn't know if you were at 1,000 or more yourself.
Yeah, we pushed pretty hard if I was a little flat or my body wasn't quite, it wasn't sticking, just because you're cranking so much in the last couple of days. I mean, we've hit 1,000 grams of carbs, and it's a lot of food.
Yeah, even people think if you're that big, you should be able to eat all kinds of, not everyone has this insane appetite. And you said, when you're younger, obviously I think we all have higher metabolisms and we can eat more food. As you get older, things change. But yeah, and you've kept your midsection really small and flat to your credit, because I think classic physique has really influenced open bodybuilding over the past few years, where we're seeing a lot more big guys who still have small, tight waists.
Right.
Anything special that you've done over the past few years to keep your waist intact? Because you're edging toward, you're pushing 40. You'll be 40 in a few years.
Yeah.
And it probably won't happen to you, but we see a lot of guys, not necessarily pros, but 40, 50-year-old and beyond bodybuilders with these bubble guts. Yeah, I'm working on mine, dude.
Yeah, for me, it's been I've incorporated a lot more core and ab training into my routine. Gina was big on that, and that helps me control and feel like I have muscular control of my midsection. It's not like I'm just like sticking out all the time, so it stays pretty tight there. I stay conscious of it. I remember, Cutler has been a big influence in my career, and there's times I talk to him about just throw some questions here and there. We were together, and he always impressed me of how tight he stayed on stage, and he'd always he'd never let his stomach out. He'd always stay really tight, and I've kind of took that and incorporated that into my daily life. And I'd have to say, not pushing food too hard. Like, I mean, when you start stuffing all this food, I mean, there's only it's all going in the same direction, and eventually there's only so much it can hold. And then, you're not a machine. Your body has to process it. And I mean, there's different, how you process steak or chicken is much different than fish, and just there's so many different variables in there. So I've kept food moderate, not go crazy with it, and the ab training I think has really helped.
Cool. I'm wondering if you've had to adjust your training. I know you have adjusted your training, because I remember the old days. Geez, you were like one of the strongest teenagers, 20-year-olds I could ever.
Right.
Geez, I'm gonna guess some numbers. I don't think I'm too far off. I remember like 700-pound squats for reps.
Yeah.
With Justin Harris. What's his nickname?
Troponin. He went
Troponin Nutrition. Yeah. I think the deads were around 700 too, probably, maybe more.
Yeah.
I think I remember like 500-pound incline barbell presses and flat
I've
presses.
done that. Yeah. 405 military press.
And this was like when you were 19 or 20, right?
Yeah. Early 20s, late. I mean, I was Justin. I mean, he would always say, like, you don't realize how strong you are. He's like, you're stupid strong. And I'm like, man, that's looking at it now, like if I trained that way my whole career, I mean, I would be in a lot worse shape. So I still train heavy. I still have moments where I turn it up and we push hard. Like I feel like, you know what, I'm feeling froggy. Let's grab the 200-pound dumbbells and let's press a set. So, but you know, I listen to my body, my shoulders, elbows. Like there's no reason that I need to be trying to set any, you know, Instagram records to try to.
I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that.
Yeah, I'm not an Instagram bodybuilder, Ron.
Man, yeah, you know, that's a good point because Ronnie, we love Ronnie, but it's hard to see Ronnie moving around now. You know, he hobbles around on crutches and everything, and from, you know, we remember him as a superhuman, 300-pound guy who could lift anything. He could push and pull any amount of weight in the world, and we thought he was indestructible. And we found out eventually, nope, he's actually a human being. Yeah. His back got all jacked up. He's had all these surgeries and everything. And I'm glad you're not in that spot because, you know, I mean, Ronnie says he has no regrets and everything, but still, I feel for him, and I would never want to see you have to live your life like that.
Yeah, no, that's it's a rough one to watch, just because, you know, I mean, that goes into the sacrifice of the sport. That's kind of the unknown period of after competing. Like, you know, obviously it's that we want that glory, we want the win, and we want to be a champion, and we do whatever it takes. Yeah. But at the same time, you're like, man, this is, and that's kind of what hit me the last few years. Like, okay, let's focus. Let's think about what's going to happen after competing. Let's think about health. Let's think about longevity. Like, you know, I want to be healthy for my family, my wife, like all the things that incorporate like after bodybuilding is what I think about.
True. Now, are you a gas athlete as well?
No, Iron Rebel.
No. Iron Rebel. Okay, Iron Rebel. Everybody uses just, what's the code?
King Snake.
King Snake. Yep. Yeah, I only mention it because you were one of the first guys, the first one I can remember to move to Dallas, and you didn't do it for bodybuilding. You did it for the fire department there, and that was What year did you move to Texas?
2006 or 7, right around then.
So, okay, so you were the first one that I recall.
Yeah.
A named bodybuilder moving to Dallas, and now there's a whole flock of them. And I think it's mainly because of that gasp in that Destination Dallas. Because who we got there? We got the young kid, Fitzwater, Keon moved there.
Yep.
I think there's
a few other guys I've saw that's kind of, you know, made that their home, and it's kind of, Dallas is becoming its own little mecca of fitness, bodybuilding, and stuff. And it's cool to see. Yeah. A lot of you know, shows are big here. I promote a show, the Kuclo Classic here in Dallas is one of them, and it's and comparatively to other states that I have 2 other shows, the Texas shows just do phenomenal, you know, in comparison. So it's good to see, you know, being a part of a state that's really embraces fitness in the sport, and you know, to be a part of it at a high level is really cool.
Yeah, I never would have thought, you know, not disparaging Dallas or Texas, but I never thought it would become a hotbed of bodybuilding the way it is. It always has been. We've always had great power lifters and bodybuilders come out of Texas. But yeah, like you said with your show, I remember Ronnie telling me his Ronnie Coleman Classic, and I don't think he was exaggerating. He said one year he had like 300 plus competitors, and the venue was like 5,000 capacity, and he said it was sold out with standing room. Yeah. That's insane. You know, we don't get anything like that.
They're not quite that big because, I mean, I think the number of shows increased compared to what they were, but at the same time, they're still really, they do really well here.
Yeah. So you're staying in Texas.
Oh yeah.
I always throw in Michigan because I don't want the Michigan people to feel slighted that I didn't, you know, credit this. He's actually from your state, Michigan, guys. It's like, it's like Cutler. Of course, I always make sure to say he's from Massachusetts because I'm in Massachusetts.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, and the Detroit Red Wings, he almost played for them. I got to mention that.
I got, big fan. I still got some loyalty to the Red Wings, and and obviously my parents are there, and I got some very close friends still there. But other than that, you know, Texas has been great to me. I've the alignments and friends and stuff that I have here in support system has made this home.
Yeah. Did you ever wonder how your life would have been different if you had been in the NHL instead of IFBB?
God, yeah. You know, it's I thought about it because I had one of my very close friends, Steve Oleski, that I was defense partners with. He went to the NHL. He won a cup with Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, he's got some many years in NHL under his belt. So I mean, we talk a lot, and I mean, in the same token, those guys beat the shit out of themselves too. I mean, he's at toward the end of his career. I mean, he is pretty much done full time in his being his late 30s. But he's like, man, my hips hurt, my knees hurt. I mean, he's one of the guys that fight and gets banged up. So there's the dark side to all the sports that it looks so glorious and it's rough and cool, but I mean the guys, you take a beating to do what we do. And I know that obviously playing those kind of sports, there's more money involved in on that aspect, but the bodybuilding has been great to me. It's led me down the path. I mean, I got to be friends with Ron Harris. I mean, it's friggin' awesome right there. But it's led me to where I'm at today, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, I mean, money aside, I honestly think if I had to choose, and the money was not an issue, like say they paid exactly the same, I would have picked bodybuilding all day, just because I don't know. I think it's more. I think you get more. It's an individual sport. It's not the team getting the recognition or the glory. It's your hard work, and you're the one that shines. So I'm very glad you didn't make the NHL, because we wouldn't have known who you were.
That's right.
It's like you said, the hockey players, professional hockey players, they're all big dudes. They're all over 6 foot, well over 200 pounds. And the beating, I can only imagine the shape when they retire and in their later years, their knees, their hips, their ankles. I can't even imagine the agony a lot of those guys.
And I mean, the speed that the full speed, they're, I think, close to 30 miles an hour on the skate. So you take that and impact that. I mean, that's a much higher impact than what like NFL hits are, a lot of times.
It's the only sport. Is fighting like allowed? I've never understood. Why are they always fighting?
It is. It's kind of one of those little that it's kind of like seeing accidents in NASCAR. Like people go to watch like the big wrecks and stuff like that. Like, so people, I mean, that's one of the things they love. I mean, you don't want to see it because somebody might get hurt or die, but at the same time, you're like, I want to see it. Same with like the fighting in NHL. Like to me, you want to see it. Like, you hope nobody gets hurt, but at the same time, it's kind of like the old, I guess the barbaric side of the humans, like is the Romans and the gladiators, like, oh, we want to watch somebody fight to the death. Like it's, I think it's just ingrained in us that we like violence and people beating the shit out of each other.
Well, I assume you've seen it, even though it's way before your time. It was a Paul Newman starred a movie called Slapshot.
Yeah.
It was 1975 or 1976.
Great movie.
It was a comedy, and there were so many crazy fight scenes in that movie. But man, I know now we're talking all about hockey, and I don't even know jack about hockey. So back to bodybuilding, so we can wind this up, man. Texas Pro, this is your show. You're the favorite, which is Steve. Giles said, man, I can't imagine the pressure Steve's under right now, but it's probably a good kind of pressure in it. It's probably a good side to it too, because it's a lot of people rooting for you, and there's a lot of people that really want you to win this show. There's going to be I can imagine when you're announced at the finals, the place is just the roof's going to come off that place. It's going to be insane.
It came off it last year a little bit. Like there was like this awkward silence that happened. And then it was like, and it kind of went the wrong direction of good. Because people were like in shock and upset. Yeah. But at the same time, there is a little bit of pressure, but I think if you're a top athlete, you have to, be used to it or be able to handle it. Yeah. And for me, it's just crossing my T's, dotting my I's, doing my homework, making sure that, I've done everything I can to bring, be confident in the package I bring to the stage on Saturday. And I feel like we've got the formula figured out. I got a great team behind me, and we're going to come and kick some ass.
Yeah. I mean, you are a true veteran, seasoned, polished. You've done this. I don't know. Do you even know how many pro shows you've done?
It's a lot. I got asked the other day how many shows I've done in my career. I mean, it's like probably in the 80 or 90 range.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because you started competing at 18, 17? 18. Yeah. It's been a minute. Yeah. I wonder how many it's been. I'm going to try to tally it up for you. I'll find out.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to take a wild guess. I think you've done about 40 pro shows. I'm going to say
It's probably up there. Yeah. Since 11. Yeah.
40 or more, maybe 50. I'm going to go with 50.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple years I've done like 6, 7, 8 shows, and a couple years I've done just, 2 or 3. So it's probably average 4 to 5 a year.
Yeah.
And over 10 years, there it is.
And it shows it. You can see the difference between someone like yourself who's been up there and done it so many times, just the way you hold yourself. It's comfortable is probably not the right word, just like self-assured. It's a confidence, not arrogance, just because it's, this isn't your first rodeo.
Right.
So, man, you've been very generous with your time, Steve. I'm actually going to see you tomorrow at the athlete meeting. So this is going to go up tomorrow morning, I believe. So it'll be the same day.
Perfect.
So, man, as you know, I'm always wishing you good luck.
Thank you, Ron.
I'm always a Steve Cuclow fan since you were that little kid posting on Muscle Mayhem. Little is the wrong word, but young. Let's say young.
Yeah, young. There you go.
You were grown. Looked like a grown ass man when you were like 18, 19.
A man child.
Yeah, dude, you were a big kid. Jeez, but yeah. So really, really hoping and praying this is your show, the 2022.
Let's do it, Ron.
Yeah. So out of respect to Freddie, I want to give the info: battleupproductions.com for all the schedules, tickets. I haven't seen anything about a pay-per-view. Have you heard anything?
They did say that they were going to stream it. I'm sure they'll have some info posted either on their Instagram or Facebook or website that discuss, but I believe they are going to stream it.
Because that'll be like half the comments. Link to stream.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
People are spoiled now. Cool. Well, that's it, Steve. I'll be seeing you very soon. Appreciate it as always. Can't wait to see what you got. Really want to see this one be the big W for you. So that's it, guys. Check them out Saturday on stage. We'll be covering here on our YouTube channel on musculardevelopment.com. We'll be doing play-by-play with instantly uploaded photos, all that good stuff. So you can see Steve Cuclow battle for redemption at the 2022 Texas Pro. So dramatic. All right.
Go.
Thank you, Steve, so much. Thanks, everybody, for watching our online report with the King Snake, Steve Cuclow. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Rob.